So, Gerard says, did God make everything out of love for me? I'm not seeing God's love for me in flies or wasps, as I don't like them. I see these things created for punishment for sin now out of love. Sorry if it's a silly question, ignore it. It's not a silly question, it's a good question, Gerard. All your questions are good. Yes, God created everything out of love for you. One of the saints, I don't know if this is Louisa or not, actually said to Jesus, if you created everything out of love for me, why did you create so many wasps, for example? And Jesus said, because I couldn't stop saying I love you. So we might think some of these animal creatures are a nuisance, but you have to bear in mind that for 6,000 years, because of sin, creation has been at war with man because man has been at war with creation. Our sin destroys creation. It's not that creation is causing us trouble, we're causing creation trouble. We destroy creation first with our sin and secondly with our acts. So what we're doing when we place our I love you in these creatures, in the whole of creation, for all time, on behalf of everybody, we are renewing creation. And creation will love us for it. Now, an example of this is when Louisa came out of her room for the first time in 10 years. And she'd been taught by Jesus all these 10 years about the acts in the divine will and the rounds. And so she comes out into the bright midday sunlight. And she thought to herself, the sun is not my enemy because I'm in the divine will. And I placed my I love you in the sun. So the sun must love me. So she looked directly at the midday sun. And she said she found the rays of the sun were caressing her eyeballs. And there was no harm done. She just felt the love of the sun. I'll come back. Francis asked a question. I'll come back to it in a moment, Francis. So when we are more centered in the divine will, we will find that creation is no longer warring against us, but creation will love us because we will be the sons of God who, as it were, are revealed and thus prevent the decay of creation. Whereas at the moment, humanity is causing the decay of creation. And God told Louisa that he is equipping creation against mankind because of sin. So what we have to do is we have to love everything in creation, even if it irritates us. And I'll give you a very practical story about this from an evangelist called Corrie ten Boom. Corrie ten Boom was in a concentration camp in World War II. And they were in this hut, she and her sister, and they used to do Bible readings in this hut. They'd snuck a Bible in, miraculously. And her sister said to her, because the hut was full of flies, and her sister said, oh my gosh, there's so many flies, can't we ask God to get rid of them? And Corrie ten Boom said, but God has a purpose in having this hut full of flies. And a couple of days later, they overheard the prison guards, the Nazi soldiers, talking about this particular hut. And they said, they hold their Bible studies in there. We should go in there and break it up and take the Bibles. And the other soldier says, I'm not going in there, there's too many flies. So God used the flies to protect them. And it's up to us, will we be irritated by God's creatures, or will we recognize that these are God's blessings and God showing his I love you? I'll give you another example of this. We have a barking dog next door which can highly irritate me. Really sometimes irritates me. And I went out into the garden during the summer and I was just going to sit down and read quietly. It was a beautiful sunny day and everything was quiet. I walked out into my garden and as soon as my bum hit the chair, the dog started kicking off in the back garden, barking, barking, barking. And I sat there and I thought, No way, Jesus. I'm not letting this put me off. I place my I love you in that barking dog because I know, Jesus, that every bark is you telling me you love me. And I'm just being irritated by your love at the minute. So I sat down, opened up my book, quietly said a prayer. I tell you, within 2 minutes, everything fell quiet. It was amazing. And I had an hour just sitting there in the midday sun, praying, reading my Divine Will book in the quiet. And I could hear the cooing of some doves. What were the doves saying to me? That was Jesus saying, Derek, I love you. And my responsibility, my duty, when I hear that, is to say, Jesus, with your will, I place my I love you in the sound of every dove that has ever sung or ever will sing, from Adam to the last man. This is Jesus speaking to Louisa, May the 21st, 1925. My daughter, come to do your rounds in my will. Look at the stars, the blue sky, the sun, the moon, the plants, the flowers, the fruits, the fields, the earth, the sea, everything and everyone. In each thing there is an act of my will, and it continues to conserve this same act in each created thing. My will does not want to remain alone in its acts, but wants the company and the exchange of your acts. Therefore I have placed you in my will. So Jesus has placed you in his will, so that you people, may accompany my acts, and together in my will you will want what I want. That the stars shine, that the sun fills the earth with light, that the plants flower, that the fields remain verdant, that the birds sing, that the sea murmurs, that the fish dart. Okay, so Jesus doesn't want his will to be alone in creating things. Let's face it, folks, until Louisa's volumes were published 30 years ago, less than 30 years ago, right? How few souls corresponded to this request of Jesus to place I love you in the flower? What people may well have done is seen the flower and thought how beautiful the flower was, but they thought about it for themselves. They didn't necessarily recognize, or some did, but some wouldn't have. Some wouldn't recognize the touch of God in a simple, beautiful flower, or the touch of God in the sun. They'd have thought, oh, I've got a nice day today, I'm going to go out and do some work in the garden in the sunshine. It's all about me. It's all egocentric and narcissistic. It's all about me. Well, Jesus has now revealed to us that he has placed his love in everything, and he's asking you now, he's revealing to you that within that flower there is love specifically for you. And he's saying, love me back. Reciprocate my love. And as you do that, the void in your soul is filled. God receives glory, love from everyone, from Adam to the last man. And you don't just place it in that one flower. You say, Jesus, with your will, I place my I love you in every petal on this flower, and in every petal on every flower that ever has been. Francis, I forgot your question. Sorry about that. The rounds. I love you, adore you, bless you. Does it matter on the wording or quantity? Francis, no. You can be liberal in terms of with your love here. You can say, Jesus, I bless you, I praise you, I love you in the name of all, on behalf of all, for the green grass, the flower. You can also do micro and macro rounds. So, for example, Jesus, with your will, I place my I love you in every atom of the air. So you can go down to the atoms. But then you can also go macro. Jesus, with your will, I place my I love you in every planet in the universe, in every galaxy in the universe. So you can go big and small. But the thing is, it's worth, you need to do it in His will, because doing it in His will means it's in the eternal mode. It means your round, the round that you do, is forever. So once you've spoken it out, as I've just spoken them out, it is forever.